you were called Voldemort the other
Well,
day.
I was called Voldemort, which, to be
It's-
honest, tickled my fancy.
I mean, it's fast and loose out there, Sally. It is fast and loose.
It's fast and loose out there. Shame is a really big topic in the world of baby sleep. It's something that you have absolutely experienced. In fact, I would dare to say that it put part of your career on hold,
Oh, yeah.
or at least slowed it down dramatically, which is devastating for many, many reasons. And it is something that I, as someone who spends a lot of time creating baby sleep content on social media, particularly TikTok, which is just the wild
Mm,
west of
it really
trolls
is.
and comments. And we just know that baby sleep is an incredibly divisive topic. We want to sort of talk about and have a conversation around the things that we experience, the comments that we get, the shame that gets thrown our way, and also try to unpack it a little bit as to what might actually be going on, but also hopefully strike a chord with you as our listeners who, if you're listening to our podcast, chances are you're sleep training curious. You
Mm.
have sleep trained. You want to sleep train. You've done sleep training, and the shame that you can also experience online, but also sometimes in person.
Yes, because I often wonder if there's a lot of families out there, particularly mothers, who wouldn't mind dabbling in a bit of sleep training, but they're ash- they don't want to they don't want anyone to think badly of them or negatively or associate them with the sleep training world. And so they just don't. Like, I wonder if there's people out there who are listening, but they actually don't want to actively do any sort of sleep training element because out of fear that they're going to be judged by their peers, their friends, their family for choosing to do something that may not align with them. Does that make
Absolutely. And
sense?
what my sort of working theory is that in an attempt for a lot of commenters to shame me as a sleep consultant sleep consultants get a very bad rap.
Yeah. Mm.
And sometimes I can understand, particularly some of the social media that I see. I'm like, "Oh, I get," and you hear horror stories, right, of sleep consultants charging thousands of dollars and then essentially ghosting. We know we are not a I can't even say the word. We don't have a governing body.
Mm.
I wish desperately. Beck, when you and I create and launch our certification process, I would love for it to be governed by APRA. Like, that's on
Yeah.
my life to-do list. It should be, because there are absolutely cowboys out there, right? Which then
100%.
give the rest of us who are care so deeply about you and your experience and your mental health, your family's ability to thrive, your need for sleep, all of it. We take it so seriously that it rubs off on us, right? I think that in a lot of commenters' attempt to shame me as a sleep consultant, what ends up happening is it further perpetuates the shame that and I'll speak about mothers here because that's primarily who I work with. Mothers looking to make a change, thinking, I'm not coping, I am struggling, I am at my wits' end. However, you are feeling, looking to make change, thinking about sleep training, and then you see these comments that are directed at me but are internalized by the other mother reading those comments. And the detriment to that mother who then doesn't seek help and then
Mm.
just has to battle on, and that my feelings on, like, that this too shall pass sort of
Yeah.
mentality around this, when really there is a really great solution that is evidence-based and is not as scary as it is made out to be.
Mm.
But it stops them in their tracks, I think, or at least delays them until they've hit rock bottom. And why are we hoping that another mother will hit rock bottom before she makes change?
Or what's the outcome once they hit rock bottom and they can't bring themselves to do any type of sleep work? Like, where does one go from rock bottom
Yeah.
with no escape plan?
Yeah.
What
Except for shame. Beck, I feel like this would be a good time And this is something you told me very early on in us meeting, because I have always used you as a mentor. Always, always, always used you as a mentor. And so I would share, particularly when I was starting on social media, the things that I was hearing, and I needed someone else to share it with so that I could keep going. And you shared a story with me that I think sort of summarizes the experience that we get on social media. And I feel
Mm.
like if you feel comfortable now that years have passed in sharing that, I think it's really important for the listeners to know what we get on the other side of our content.
Mm. The And this really was like 10 years ago now. So I've been doing this for, oh gosh, I don't know, nearly 12 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it was 10 years ago. And the Lula doll was it was the latest Fandangle sort of sleep aid in terms of, it was like a doll. It had within a recorded heartbeat, which played
Mm.
for 8 hours, which in itself was problematic because if I was designing something like that, I would have the heartbeat going for at least 12, 13 hours, like
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
So it was problematic in the sense that it was designed to go off at like the most fragile time in the morning, which was 4 o'clock. So I had a bee in my bonnet about that. But but I did, it was $100. The doll was $100. And there were people, it was going bananas. I don't know if, do
It
you
really
remember
went off.
Sophie La Giraffe, the teething toy?
Yeah, yeah,
That was a
yeah.
huge thing before the Lula doll. And, that was $40 in itself, but the Lula doll was $100. And I was new to the game of trying to create content with videos on Facebook and all those sorts of things. So I worked up the courage to do a Facebook Live, because anyone that follows me will know that I'm just not that visible on Facebook or Instagram. And it was really hard for me to do a video because I just don't like seeing myself on camera. Anyway, I did it. It took me about 87 takes, but I eventually got there. The video was about how to create your own Lula doll without the price tag. And it
I
was
love
just
that.
simply using a comforter, and using white noise or brown noise on a different device. It could have been a fan in the room, or it could have been using one of the apps on your phone. And Bob's Your Uncle was kind of free as such.
Mm.
And I put it up. It was great for the afternoon. I kind of didn't check. I hate checking back to see myself on screen all over again. But I woke up the next morning to hundreds and hundreds of comments, and they were terrible, terrible comments about, how dare you? That advice is so dangerous. Who would put a phone in a bassinet with a baby? Who would how would you consider yourself to be a sleep consultant, with such dangerous advice? These recommendations are disgusting. Like, it went on and on and on,
Mm.
until eventually one said, you should kill yourself. and and it was so devastating. Like, it was like, because the followers of the Lula doll had somehow got in touch with a brand, like a company, like a toy company kind of thing, who
Mm.
then told their followers how dangerous my advice was, and then they all got behind it. And it was international, so it wasn't even just Australia based. There was like New Zealand, England. It was all over. It was
Just open the floodgates.
global hate to this tip. And I just remember laying in bed, and I had some amazing sleep consultant friends who went into bat for me, because I couldn't open my
No.
phone. I couldn't look at any of the comments. I was debilitated, like
Mm.
literally debilitated, because it was my worst nightmare, because in the past, I had seen other sleep consultants cop so much flack, so much hate, really terrible comments. And I didn't want to open myself up to that. So I kind of felt quite safe providing a tip that was going to provide great sleep. It was just a tip. It was a tip,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was workable and so forth. And so I sort of thought I was safe.
It
But
kinda makes
then I
sense too.
kind of, well, now I still
Yeah.
back myself with the I still back myself with
12 years later.
But in that moment, I realized that nothing is safe. Like, as a
No.
sleep consultant, nothing that we say is safe from criticism or from words being twisted or people having an opinion about our occupation and how we work and, the people that we work with. Like, we are not safe at all.
Mm,
And in that moment, I totally retreated. I barely put anything up. Like,
mm,
and like you said before, and I almost had tears in my eyes. I was like, it really, really put a handbrake on my career in that
mm.
moment, because I was just trying to get into the groove of things and finding my feet with the social media space. And I still to this day really cover my ass when it comes to how I deliver content and how I show up in social media, because I am absolutely
It's terrifying.
petrified.
Yeah.
I am so terrified that something else like that will happen. And that's like, I can think of 1,000 things that I want to share online, and you're so good at all the tips. Like, I watch you on your TikTok, on Instagram, and anytime you're doing lives, and you're so easy breezy with the way that you deliver your content, and you can articulate your words beautifully and make it all make sense. And I wish that I could have that ease of delivery. And I know that I can have that when I get onto when I'm in a safe space of other sleep consultants or,
Mm.
family and friends, and I can just talk passionately about, what I believe in and why I think it works and so forth. But put me in front of a camera for the wolves, and I
Yeah, yeah.
freeze. I absolutely freeze.
I mean, to be honest, though, my heart, I can feel my heart racing. It's not just the second coffee that I'm currently drinking. My heart races and my fingertips tingle hearing that story because I I know it,
Well,
and
you've been called some horrendous things, like, absolute, like,
oh,
and there's the skin that has to grow, uh, but, you were called Voldemort the other day.
I was called Voldemort, which, to be
S
honest, tickles my fancy. Like, of all the comments that I've received, and I do appreciate it, you put yourself out there on social media, it's part of the path of the course. You being told you being told to kill yourself is so atrociously out of line.
Yeah,
Horrific. And if you like, look at the effect that it had on you, on your business, and still
mm,
12 years on, we've had to,
yeah,
like, build up what episode are we up to? Like, into the 80s of this before, and we have
mm,
talked about doing an episode and sharing that story, and
mm,
we have spent 80 episodes building up the confidence to do it. And we now
mm,
feel safe enough ish
yeah,
in
yeah,
our own skin, with our brand, with our listeners, that this is a safe enough place to share this. But also, we want you to know that we see you as well
mm,
as the listeners who are also copying this. If you talk about sleep training, I mean, I did get called Voldemort. I have nearly burned my business to the ground so many times,
yeah,
particularly over the last 2 years. I maybe appear easy breezy. I am your unflappable leader, but when it comes to social media comments,
yeah,
it hurts so badly. It
yeah,
hurts so badly. And if I didn't believe in what I was doing, I would have stopped. But I
mm,
know that you and I truly change lives in a
yeah,
way that makes sense. I am also the biggest believer in that nobody has to do this. You do not have to sleep train. I have
mm,
no agenda to convince somebody to sleep train. The
mm,
things that affect me the most, and this is absolutely why I doubled down, I don't share pictures of my children on the internet.
yeah,
I very rarely share real life sleep stories. Um, I probably talk about it more on the podcast. I don't even share their names because I have been told that I should have CPS, Child Protective Services, called on
Oh
me
my God.
for having sleep trained my children. By the way, never sleep
God.
trained my first. She just did it. I have been
But
told
you
I
see,
should
you
put my
don't even have
children up
to.
for adoption.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's just add some trauma into the mix. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
but also the fact that you even have to justify saying my first wasn't even sleep trained. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like we're
yeah,
like that
yeah.
you're sitting there going, oh, just for the record, like
I
but
didn't.
it's not something that we have to justify. Even if you had to sleep train both children, it's the justification isn't required.
No.
Y-
I get told weekly to shut the fuck up. Like literally
Oh
people
yeah.
write that. I've been told you can tell from my eyes that I'm dead inside.
Oh.
People are just nasty. And even this week, and I hadn't even seen it, and one of the listeners and followers sent it to me, not as in like to create drama, more that I
Mm.
was talking about this sort of shame and hate that I was getting in my stories. And I've tried to be a little bit braver whilst also remaining professional, sent me a screenshot of what somebody, it wasn't even on my content.
Mm.
It wasn't like I had offended them in my in a video that I'd made. I'm just going to try and find it. And this isn't about this person in particular. I've never worked with this person, nothing. No idea. Uh, she wrote, that's why convincing mums with poor mental health that instead of getting support and knowing it's all normal and every baby is unique, they should be paying for a cry it out program made by ChatGPT. Sally, baby sleep expert, that's me, is a perfect example of a predatory sleep consultant with a ChatGPT program designed to go against the individual and biological needs of babies. And in all honesty,
Whew.
yeah. It's quite savage. In all honesty, that did not upset me at all because it is so far from the truth for a couple of reasons. One,
I'd be pissed
I
with the ChatGPT mention because you're
but it's
no,
so inaccurate.
it
Is
is so
ChatGPT in
inaccurate.
the room with us right now? Like, hello, AI. Like, I know AI is
Yeah,
getting really good, but I'd be impressed with that.
yeah.
Does ChatGPT log on to our Camp Snooze roll calls every single morning and
Mm,
shoot from the hip with troubleshooting, scheduling, cheerleading?
yeah. No.
No, it's me, but also I have photos of me with printed my initial version of my 5 to 12 month sleep guide, which has been revamped absolutely as my practice has changed. It is still fundamentally the same guide, just with
Mm,
some tweaks, printed up on the wall when baby P was 11 months old or something. Like she's pulling up against the wall, and there is me with a biro. ChatGPT did not exist, making
yeah.
amendments to send back to the graphic designer. But the like, I can't even think of the word, not even hypocrisy, like the silly sausage trap that this comment falls into is that mums with poor mental health, that instead of getting support and knowing it's all normal and every baby is unique, they should be paying for a cry it out program. You just tell me you don't know how we work without telling me you don't know how we
Yeah,
work.
100%.
Because we work to help parents, particularly those with poor mental health due to baby sleep issues. We normalize how hard baby sleep is. We
Mm.
normalize that babies wake up. We can't stop babies from waking. We normalize how hard it all is.
I think the hardest part well, there's so many hard parts. Receiving criticism is always difficult to deal with. Where,
Absolutely.
um, but it's more difficult to deal with when they don't know you personally, they don't know how you work, they're making assumptions, and they've got their own agenda, and they're trying to push the agenda on to other people and
Mm.
encourage them to think differently. Or um, that's a really tricky part because you almost feel like you're in a losing battle. trying to defend yourself is a losing battle. And so you've just got to
Oh, yeah.
almost just cop it, because
Yeah.
I know where, I understand where the hate almost comes from, because there is, like in any occupation, business, there are some dodgy characters. There are dodgy
Totally.
characters out there,
Yep.
and they can do dodgy things and things that I don't agree with, but we are all recognized as sleep consultants. That's our title. It's
Yep.
the same with any industry. You've got doctors out there who are gung-ho and they do things, and like you're all lumped into the same category. So I understand there's some cowboys out there and they give us all a bad rap. But it's really terrible to be lumped into the same categories as these people. And
Yep.
then we're left trying to like literally fight for our lives and our own businesses to try and help families understand, or parents or mums, whoever's in, reading the content and wanting to sort of like that we're different. We are different, and
Yeah.
you're not necessarily grasping the idea of how we work, and you may not need to, but there's absolutely no reason to comment. Scroll on, like scroll on,
Scroll on.
jog
Scroll
on, scroll
on.
on.
But do you know what? The other thing is, I think about this all the time. Even my 4-year-old knows that you can be upset, but you can't be mean. And so we will never, it's an incredibly divisive topic. I feel, and maybe people listening might think this is an exaggeration, but I think baby sleep is up there with the anti-vax movement.
Yeah.
It can be that controversial and that hateful that that's kind of how I liken it in my head. If you don't agree with my content, my scheduling, Beck's recommendation on a Lul adult, we are not for everyone. We are absolutely, and nor do we have to be. Our content is not for them. Our content is for the people where it resonates, where you do like that schedule, where you want to make change, where you have read the research and you're feeling good. You are looking for support. You can have a differing opinion, but you can't be mean. And I think that's the aspect that gets to me and my heart, is that people are so mean, so mean, and we are not.
No.
And like I said, there's been many times when I've wanted to absolutely stop. I've had to delete the app and just work on TikTok Studio so I don't see the comments coming in, because otherwise my work will stop. And I don't believe in that. I've had to lean on you. That's the other thing. Solo sleep consultant. We do solo work. You and I are now attached at the hip. 24/7. Don't ever leave me, Beck. That's when I will burn it all to the ground. If Beck divorces me,
but
I think we need each other. So even as a nurse, I might have had a bad shift or something has upset me, a sad case. I can go into the tea room and there's a room full of nurses. If I want a second opinion, I can call the doctor. I can get allied health. I can get out the textbook and do it with a preceptor. You and I don't have that. And I think that's part of where the cowboy aspect comes in, is that we're all just doing our own thing. But it's really lonely. It's really lonely work sometimes. And we have to be able to support families during really tricky, emotionally vulnerable times. And we love that aspect of our job. In order to do that, we have to look after ourselves as well. I will also say, and I'm certain Ben is the same, Cade, my husband, is number one supporter and has literally held me while I've sobbed about someone saying that the only reason my son says I love you is to get proof back from me that I love him.
Oh, that's really sad. It's really sad. Where do people come up with this? I don't know,
but it's devastating. So that's you and I, that we don't have babies anymore. You and I are not particularly sleep deprived outside of probably being up at night thinking about these conversations. So then knowing that other women, parents who are struggling and really tired, we are talking about the most precious possession in your life, your baby.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think when people start banding around attachment and how terrifying that can be, and the idea that sleep training will break that,
Mm.
I think that's where they play on that vulnerability
Yeah.
and that fear. And I think that there are a couple of reasons that fuel this. One is I don't think people know what sleep training is.
Yep.
I think,
I
or
agree.
rather, I think a lot of people
How we
in the
work.
comments don't know. Yeah. They think it is purely the old school cry it out, which is put your baby into bed at bedtime and do not go back in until the morning.
Mm. Like a full 12 hours of staying out of the
Full
room,
12
despite
hours.
what's going on in the room.
Yep. And
Yep.
then probably during the day for naps as well.
Yep.
So I think there's a huge amount of misinformation. We don't do that. Like, I don't actually know anyone that really
No.
does that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 100%.
I then think that you can never win. We actually put this out on our Nap Trap stories about, have you ever felt shame or hate? And I mean, surprise, surprise, people absolutely have. It's
Yeah.
not just you and I. And then on the flip side, one mother actually said, I've been shamed for not sleep training when I wasn't ready, which hurt just as much. And I just think,
Wow.
case in point, our parenting choices, we will never win. You cannot win.
You can't win. You
So
can't
do
win.
what's right for your family in an informed way, because we can't win.
And I think it's at the most emotionally vulnerable time in your life,
Yeah.
and having sleep deprivation and having to make choices and being influenced by those around you and their opinions and theories. And you're wanting to do the absolute very best, but your choices are, well, they're influenced by, imagine being so sleep deprived and on the verge of losing it all and choosing not to sleep train because your sister-in-law has mentioned to you that it's going to impact your attachment, your child's attachment, and you would never want to do that. But meanwhile, you're on the floor in a heap in the bathroom, crying, your
Struggling
baby's
to
crying.
play, struggling to engage, can't feed
Yeah.
yourself, struggling to feed the baby. Yeah.
Relationships are falling apart. You're going back to work in 6 months' time. Everything is piling on. And because somebody doesn't realize how sleep training can actually look, and there's potential, and I will always think about, what if the sleep training wasn't actually about using a sleep training technique at all? This family just needed to get onto a 4-hourly feed schedule and everything locked into place from there.
An increased
You'd,
hog in their sleeping bag.
yeah,
Like, it's,
like not feeding to sleep at bedtime, and then
yeah.
organically it all improved. One aspect, because I think what families are missing the point of is that when you have sleep consultants like us who are looking holistically at families' sleep before we create a plan, we are we're assessing everything to pinpoint the exact reason why there's a challenge.
Mm.
And that is different for every family.
Yeah. Yep.
The reason is different for every family. And so it's not necessarily all about sleep training. Sometimes it is just about an aspect that you might have overlooked, or you weren't told that you have to up the size of the teat as baby grows, and you're still using a
Yeah.
newborn teat and baby is 7 months old. These are
Yep.
the types of things that we find along the way that improve sleep just by making small switches. It improves sleep no end.
But, making content about that doesn't get the same traction that sleep training ruins your baby's attachment gets on social media.
Mm,
The nuance of the way that we work is boring content
mm,
for the algorithm. And so I think the fear-based content online is where the message just spreads faster. We see it
right.
in politics. We see it in anti-vax. We see it in baby sleep. And I remember, our like guru, That Sleep Doc.
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about how that sort of thing just gains traction so much faster, but also it does play on a vulnerability, and those voices are often the loudest. It's the quieter ones that just sort of plod along doing good work that don't
Mm,
really take off because they haven't got some explosive revelation that's usually based on misinformation. We're
mm.
not using fear-based content.
No, that's true.
I've some accidentally made rage bait before. I remember I made it at the hairdresser, and I was like, "Oh God, got to put something out today," And so I just filmed myself sipping my coffee, and I wrote, and it went back out this week, saying sleep training, just written on it. I don't actually say anything. Sleep training doesn't teach your baby that you're not coming back. It just teaches them how to fall asleep and stay asleep independently.
Yeah.
Ooh, that nearly broke me. But I had put my phone down. I was like, okay, great, done my social content for the day, off the
Yeah.
cuff, accidental rage bait. But here's the
Yes.
other thing that I noticed. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
There'd be like, 1.5 thousand likes and 300 comments. Maybe 150 of those are hate. They're very loud, but the likes significantly outweigh, which is like the silent, I agree with this,
Mm.
but they're quiet about it. And that's fine. Nobody has to be loud. But one of the ways I coached myself through the absolute horrific comments that I got, most of which TikTok itself screened and hid from me, is, oh, they're just quieter. I actually have more people in agreement
Agreement.
with this,
Yeah.
but the mean ones are so much louder and it feels so personal.
Yeah, I mean, see, to me, oh, I think I just went too close to my mic. To me, I would, I, I could never have posted that. I would have sat in that chair. One, I would never have posted myself like in a cape at a hairdresser because like the old
Maybe
lizard
that's where
head.
the Voldemort came from. I've got my visiting cape on and no septum.
But also, no septum. Oh my God, I need to go and Google who Voldemort is now. I'm sure the listeners will know.
Yes.
But I would have second guessed every single part of that that messaging that you would have put out. Like for me, for you to have been able to think about that and then being like, great, I'm just going to put that in there. The level of security or confidence you have within yourself and what you're delivering and the messaging that you're trying to, it's confidence. Like that is confidence.
That one was blind naivety. I just know that
Right.
statement to be true, anecdotally and science backed. And so I didn't think it was controversial at all. I think what also was the trigger was that I was at the hairdresser solo without a child, having a coffee, doing something completely for myself. I think if I had been on the trampoline, bouncing with my children or
Right.
lying on the couch
Interesting.
breastfeeding, I think it would have a completely different message.
Wow. Interesting.
Compared to that's the one where I was told I was dead inside.
Right.
I think because I was doing something for myself, there's this whole perceived narrative that I've just
underlying.
probably my
Yep.
children are crying in their cot as we speak,
Right.
and I've just left them at home by themselves.
Mm,
Which I
wow.
then think there is an element to this sort of hate and shame and guilt that is also and maybe I'm wrong. These are just some of my working theories because I think about it a lot because I experience it a lot, is that there's got to be some projection that commenters are that tired themselves that they're convincing themselves that this is normal and that this is just motherhood. Motherhood is martyrdom and, oh my goodness, how dare she be taking a moment for herself, and she has chosen herself and sleep over meeting a baby's needs 8 times before midnight, which is just not, that's just not the case. That's a whole fictional story that's been made up. I think fear as well. I'm so scared of doing that, of ruining attachment. I'm so scared of what the fearmongers say, that I'm going to project that as well so that I
Mm.
convince myself that there is no other option but what I'm currently doing.
And I'm angry about my own situation, but I am going to double down and make sure everyone understands how harmful it is for you to sleep train, because then I will feel better about my own situation and holding tight onto not wanting to do anything about it to
Mm.
improve it.
I will also say we experience shame from other sleep consultants, which, we've talked about the odd piece of misinformation. I think we talk about it, hopefully, more in a, hey, we need to clear this up because this is inaccurate, rather than trying to take somebody down. I have had other sleep consultants stitch my content to tear it down.
Mm.
And nearly always is they're gentle in their name or
Oh,
in their
yeah.
bio. And I
Hmm.
just can't reconcile those two things. I'm a gentle sleep consultant, but watch me be so mean.
Yeah. And tear somebody else down, another
It feels
adult
like,
in the same
yeah.
industry who's doing the work that I am doing, but in a slightly different way.
I also think that sometimes the most hurtful part is that, and this shocked me and it to the point of you can never win in your parenting and your mothering decisions, is that all of this comes from other women and other mothers. And it's
Mm.
such a sad space. It's the opposite of the village mentality, uh, to be taken down by another mother and another woman.
Mm. Yeah, I can't say that I've ever had a comment from a male. Like, I mean, I don't expect men to be looking at my content or anything like that, and I'm certainly not big fry like you are in the social media space. But yeah, the fact that it is all mums and we're all doing our very, very best on this journey is, and then yeah, to be told such disgusting things, um,
I've
is a
definitely had
hurt.
comments from men. There's often so many comments that I don't even see them all. Like, case in point, I was tagged in that the ChatGPT I'm a predator content. Also, everything is free that they're commenting on. Everything is free. All of our social media is free. This podcast is free. YouTube is free.
Hmm.
Yes, we do also run our businesses and make our livelihood through it for those that are wanting to take it the next step. But otherwise, there is so much free content out there that there is nothing predatory in that, or at least I would like to think that. I think that the core message is that there is no winning in the eyes of the internet, that I don't think that you're a better mother for how your baby does or doesn't sleep. There are no awards. You can make change at any time.
Mm.
There is comparison. Also, the thief of joy. We know this about everything of like, oh, my baby talked before,
Yeah.
or didn't talk before that baby. Oh, they've been toilet trained earlier or later, or didn't ride a bike until 5, whereas my first child did it at 3. Um, your baby slept through the night and you had to sleep train. Your baby didn't sleep through the night and you need to sleep train. There's no awards because we will never win. You just need to do what's right for your family and take it as it comes.
Mm. I'm a big believer in that. I do believe there are no awards, and you have got to march to the beat of your own drum, and it's okay to disagree and to not be on board with every new fandangly thing that comes out or options that are available to you. But like you said before, you can disagree, but you can't be mean. And I think that that
Mm.
is such an important value to uphold, especially as grown adults.
Yes. And so even if I mean, back, you and I disagree on some things. We are not mean to each
Mm.
other. I mean, actually, do we?
Like this. Yeah.
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 I know. I'm just trying
No.
to think. Do we actually disagree? Oh, yeah. On biscuit choice. Absolutely. Do we disagree? But I'm not going to be mean about your arrowroot. I'm just going to leave you to it. I will scroll on. I think this was a good chat, and I think this is where we want to take Nap Trapped. We want to have a few more discussions because, Beck, you and I, we think a lot of things behind the scenes. We
Mm.
coach a lot of families through things that I think unless you're living it, you don't know that reality is possible. If you've had a great sleeper, if your mental health hasn't been affected by postpartum, if you haven't had a baby in NICU, like all of these things, you and I see often the other end of the spectrum, and there is support, solutions, help, no matter where you are in your baby sleep experience. And enough, no, even me saying it, it'll never stop. But the shame, the criticism, the hurt is a lot, and we feel it, and we know you feel it too.
And I think it was a really important discussion to have today. I'm so glad that we got to open it up and to share our journey of how we start to overcome the comments that come our way, the hurt that comes our way. I don't think we'll stop. We'll never stop.
No,
with
we won't
our
stop.
important
We
work.
won't stop. We won't stop.
I think that this is probably, the podcast has been great for me because it's a space where I can openly discuss things on my terms, and people aren't scrolling past the podcast. People are coming to us, the right people, and I feel like my confidence is going to flourish a whole lot more as we start having more open discussions, knowing that this is more of a safe space for me, and a lot of my walls will come down, and I think that the listeners will start to hear more about the way I feel about things and my thoughts on parenting and motherhood and babies and all the sleep and all the wonderful things that go along with it, because I've got a lot to say.
I can't wait. I actually can't wait. And I'm really proud of you, because that sort of comment, and to still be here 12 years later, giving it another red hot crack at risk of criticism is so admirable. And I love hearing what you've got to say, and I hear more of it. I have the privilege of hearing more of it behind the scenes. And actually, I was going to message you this morning after we did our Camp Snooze roll call. There were lots of travel day troubleshooting, and I sat back and I was like, God, Beck's good at this. Like, this is her jam. And watching you in flow is amazing. And to think, even when we started this podcast, you needed a shot of tequila and your glasses on. And here we are, over a year later, doing something that we've wanted to do, which is really scary. And actually, it feels so much better to have said it and to shared it. So thank you for the therapy session, everyone.
Oh, yay. So good. I feel lighter. I actually do feel lighter. And
I
feel
do too.
Yeah. I you know what? It's nice to have a backstory to people, I think. And it makes you feel like you can understand their jam a little bit more, or why they behave a certain way, or how they're so good at some things but not the greatest at others. And I think the understanding is there. And from here, we make it flow. I think we just...
And that we're humans and women and mothers on the other side of those comments, and it still hits us.
Yeah, it does. And I think maybe there might be anytime we have something like, whoa, that was pretty intense in terms of comment wise, we might incorporate it.
Maybe we need to get in the bin
comment of the week
section. In the bin you go. Snuff blot 2957J with your comments.
Oh yeah. Well, it might be maybe it's a challenge to. I've got to open up my my social media a little bit more. So
let's get back on the socials.
So that I start getting the comments of who do you think you are? What a terrible... if I get those, and I know that I'm actually hitting
then you
the
really
right
have to Google
algorithm.
who Voldemort is. Yeah, you've hit the right side of baby sleep talk. Don't worry, I'll create a burner account and I'll just go in and fight the good fight for you. All right, everyone. This was a great session. And also, we're really curious, how does this land for you? Did you know that this is what it was like? Have you experienced this? I think it's a really great conversation that needs to be ongoing, and we are so here for it. We will see you on the next episode of Nap Trapped.
See you later, team.
Bye.